I'd like to call to order the Tuesday, June 1st, 2021 regular meeting of the Hendry County School Board. If so inclined, please stand with us to recite the invocation and the pledge afterwards. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Welcome, everyone. It's nice to see everyone's maskless faces tonight. It's good to see some good facial expressions out there. And so let's get started with our recognition. Superintendent, do you have any recognitions tonight?
I do have a few recognitions tonight, and I agree. I almost felt like I was missing something without my mask on. I was like, didn't know if I should come in or not. The first couple of recognitions that we have are going to be some retirees. And it's always heart-touching to me to look across the list of employees that we have and look at the amount of years that they have been with us. And to get started, and tonight we're fortunate to have the principals here that these folks have worked with and are currently working with, so I'm going to get them to help me. But we're going to start tonight with Ms. Kathy Irie. Would she please come forward? So Ms. Irie has 38 years of service with Hendry County Schools. I'm not even that old. That's amazing. So what a remarkable career. Long service. I actually tried to retire last year, and I know Ms. Kelly will talk about some of that, and so I won't take all that away. But I know it goes all the way back to I want to say tennis. There was some tennis as a young kid. I remember my sister just talking about Miss Irie and tennis practice, and I know that's kind of a sidebar from the great work you did in the classroom, but nonetheless, it does speak to the volume of work and everything that you've done for Henry County students, and I want to say thank you very much. And Miss Kelly has a few words she would say as well.
Yeah, I do. So it's very easy for me to honor Kathy Irie, and so I had the privilege of teaching with her several years ago, back in 1990, when I was actually a teacher at Clifton Middle School. And when I came back and was able to serve our students again at CMS, Kathy had told me, hey, well, I'm retiring. And I was like, oh, please please don't do that. I was happy for her, but at the other side of her, I was just like, man, I would really like for you to stay on in here. So she came back and she said, okay, Miss Kelly, I'm going to give it one more year. And so then COVID happened. And so at the beginning of that time, she was like, really, Tina? But you know what? In the midst of it all, Kathy Irie has been a real strength to our campus. Our kids love her, our teachers love her, our admin love her. She's actually serving on staff with students that were raised up under her that have said, Miss Irie, you're the very reason that I became a teacher. You're the very reason that I'm in education. And so I just can't say enough about her. We've been blessed to have her. The impact that she's going to leave and the legacy that she's going to leave is yet to be seen. We're seeing the fruit of it now, but I can't imagine the students that are coming down the road that are going to be saying the same thing about Miss Irie. And so we love her and we honor her. So.
The other noteworthy thing about that, and I'm sorry if I missed it, but so in her final year, in her retiring year, she was selected by her peers as
Teacher of the Year.
For your retirement plaque, presented to Ms. Kathleen Irie, teacher at Clifton Middle School, in appreciation for 38 years of faithful service to Hendry County. On behalf of the Hendry County School System, school board members, superintendent, and staff, June 1st, 2021.
Oh, sorry.
Right.
Stretch
All of y'all. Good, good.
Awesome. The next presentation that we have is to Miss Patricia Cutchall. Would she please come forward?
I didn't even make it.
So Ms. Cutchall has 18 years of service in. That's
That's a
remarkable.
lot more than that.
Phenomenal, yeah.
That's I
right.
get credit for.
Yeah. This was written by Ms. Sarah Sanchez. It says Ms. Cutchall says 19 years of service of teaching experience. Those 10 were spent in kindergarten, where she earned her angel wings for sure. The other years are spent in 3rd and 4th grade. She is a lifelong learner and is passionate about teaching and developing the minds of her students. Her dedication to her profession is like no other. She is famous for her songs that she would come up with and go along just to about any subject or any situation. Ms. Cutchall is referred to by some as Mama Shaw. That's due to her infinite wisdom and her ability to help other teachers grow professionally and personally. West Side is forever grateful for all of her years of service, and she will truly be missed. That was Miss Sarah Sanchez, by the way. A whole bunch of those years was also spent with Principal Tony Buston, and he said he would like to say a few words as well.
Ms. Cutchall, we were blessed with 10 and a half years at Westside. We had, she was down in the weeds with me a lot. She was our union rep, and we worked real well together. She was great for her kids. She was a great teacher leader. She trained me very well. And I still am very appreciative of everything you've done, Ms. Cutchall. You always have a super sparkly day every day. Every morning. Have a super sparkly day. And she wore so many hats. I could stand up for forever to talk about Ms. Cutchall, but I just want to wish her a great retirement and have a lot of things to read and have a great time, okay?
I definitely want to.
And again, we have a very nice plaque that says presented to Miss Patricia Cutchall, teacher at Westside Elementary, in appreciation for 18 years of faithful service to Hendry County. Hendry County District School System, school board members, superintendent, staff, June 1st, 2021. Happy retirement.
That's something very excellent.
Yeah, that's right.
Come on, guys, get together. I don't like pictures.
We're dancing here.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Cutchall.
Yeah, right, we're steady dodging. And the last one that we have is Miss Jeanette Edens. Is Miss Edens here? I don't think Miss Edens was able to make it, but we'll make sure. She was a transportation bus attendant for 17 years, which that's a tough job too for any of you who wouldn't think so. But we're very grateful for her service as well. Thank you all to everyone. Happy retirement to those of you who are retiring. I aspire to retire, so hopefully I'll join you someday. You're welcome to stay for the remainder of the presentations, or you're welcome to leave. It's totally up to you. So whatever y'all feel led to do. Yeah. We have an add-on to the agenda tonight. Under presentations, before we get close to middle school, Mr. Marty Espinoza with Clewiston Youth Development Academy will be coming forward to make a special student presentation.
Thanks for the time on the docket. I have a presentation here. It's for the 2021 Schoolwide VA Student of the Year. Ms. Bird and I are proud to certify that Marissa Broughton has been named the outstanding student at the Clewiston Youth Development Academy for the 2020-2021 school year. Marissa earned the highest grade point average and was self-motivated in her studies. She also used her knowledge to assist students in lower grades. Marissa set an example for other female students at CYDA for their weightlifting prowess and consistent workout routines. She also volunteered to serve breakfast and lunch, which helps us in extra quality. I'd like Marissa and her mom and her little sister to come up, and also Ms. Bird, so I can get a picture. Thank you. Did you want to make a speech? Bird, I appreciate you coming out. Ms. Bird was a resource counselor, and they got along famously. So it was a great situation, and we're happy that Marissa is headed back to CHS.
Marty, looking good.
Sure. Sure about that? Thanks.
Congratulations.
Superintendent, do we have any other presentations?
We do have a presentation tonight in keeping in step with our school presentations. So far, we have had some phenomenal presentations from our schools about the great things that they are doing, and tonight we are honored to have the leadership from Clewiston Middle School here. So I would like to call Ms. Tina Kelly and her team to come forward at this time.
Thank you for the opportunity to present tonight. We are excited to kind of share what's been happening at Clewiston Middle School this year. And so I want to introduce our team to you to begin with. This is Mr. Barnes. He's our Dean of Students. And next to him is Ms. Ortiz, our Dean of Curriculum Instruction. And Ms. Sandy Perry, our Administrative Assistant. And Ms. Pereira is our reading resource / coach person at our school, and so all very much a huge part of everything that's happened on our campus this year. It really takes a team, and I'm very blessed with an awesome team. And so let me see if I can figure this out. Okay, so just to kind of go over a little bit, so this is kind of my feelings when around February. So congratulations, you're principal. You get to be principal, right? Of a D school for the second year, right? That's double D's, and that's never good, right? And so, and there's a worldwide pandemic coming in the near future, and half your school's going to start from home. And so this is kind of how I felt about it. Hold on. It's like, no way. But I was also very excited as well. So we titled. We started the year with everybody at home, and you can see here kind of our teachers, as everybody was doing at that time. I mean, we sent our kids home for spring break, and they didn't come back, right? And so it's kind of a sad time for all of us. The world was literally upside down. We didn't know what was happening. And so a couple of photos here of what our teachers did. And so the first 2 months as an administrative team, we started teaching our kids behind screens. Everybody was behind screens. We went to face to screens, and that was new for our students, and it was definitely new for our teachers. And we were assured by August, though, right, that everything was going to be back to normal, right? This was just going to be a few weeks. We were all coming back. Well, then, so what we decided to do was not miss a beat. So we began the dual task of making sure that our students were still learning, and also starting to build and establish team and culture for the 2020 school year. You know, once we got over the shock of everything, we were like, okay, let's get busy, let's make the best of this, let's make this happen. We've got a lot of work to do, and we knew that going into this year. So we did a faculty study called Move Your Bus, and it was a great time. We were planning this before the pandemic, so our last faculty meeting, we had already given everybody, you know, the books, hey, we're gonna read this book together, but it worked out that our book study actually happened, you know, over Google Meet, and it was actually an incredible thing looking back over that we were able to come together and really start building that culture, really starting to get to know each other, because we really didn't know each other. You know, our schools kind of spread out, and it's not unusual for people to come and they can sign in and they can be there and teach and go home, and you don't get to lay eyes on everybody every day. So it was kind of a great event for us to do that. So in May, we decided that we were going to reveal our theme for the 2021 school year, Teach Like a Pirate. And my friends convinced me to do this. It's not one of my better moments, but you know, I was persuaded. So, and Teach Like a Pirate, it was going to be our second book study. And basically that's the acronym. It stands for passion, immersion, and these were all things that we felt were going to be very important for us. Is number one, to have that passion, to restore that passion back to teaching, back to our campus, for immersion, to be completely present every single day, to really be there with our kids, rapport, establishing those relationships, and to ask and analyze. That's what that A stands for, is not just, hey, did I teach the lesson, was actually, are my kids actually learning? Is there proof that my kids are actually learning what I've taught them? And T was about transformation, and how transformation is a process. It takes time. It doesn't happen overnight. And last but not least was enthusiasm. And if you're not having fun, you're doing it wrong, right? So we really wanted to bring, like I said, that joy back to our campus. There was an element that was missing, and joy was part of it. And this team that you're looking at here, literally, and I know a lot of schools did this, but these guys didn't take a day off. I mean, they were hard at it from March through August. I think maybe around the 4th of July, a couple people went and sat on the beach. But for the most part, I mean, we were hitting it hard every single day throughout the summer. And we began to make preparations. We said this because once the school grades came out in 2019, we heard a radio host, who shall remain nameless, from WAFC. He said, you know, he was kind of pointing out, well, Clifton Middle School, you know, they're a D school. And he said, they need to get caps made that say, make CMS great again. So we were like, okay. So we set out to make CMS great again. We said, we'll take that. We know you're kind of making fun of us. But yeah, we're going to make CMS great again, right? And so August arrived, and we had held out the whole entire year. We were like, okay, we're getting our kids back. We're getting our kids back. We're getting our kids back. And as you all know, we did not get our kids back in August. So we started the year with 55% of our students were at home, and in a learning environment that we could not control. But we still went with it. We kicked off our year at Dunwoody. U.S. Sugar allowed us to use the facility at Dunwoody, which was a beautiful facility. We took our teachers out there, and we had a great opening to the school year with a full team, which was amazing, because we had started many, many years with a lot of long-term subs, but we had a full team. We had a full house, and we were excited about it. So our mission of CMS was this. We said the mission of Clifton Middle School, lots of keywords here: to engage, to empower, and to educate every student, every day, in every classroom, to prepare them for success in college, career, or just life. And this along with our SIP, which is our School Improvement Plan, was in front of our teachers every day, all day. We started every single faculty meeting with our mission and our school improvement. And I heard a good analogy for mission statements, and I thought it's the 3 Gs. So this became it became our guide, right? This kept us on focus all year long. This is what we're doing. This is what, if it doesn't come under this, if it doesn't come under our school improvement, we're not doing it, right? It also guarded us. It was the rails that kind of kept our engine moving forward. And we really needed it when we would kind of forget our way and panic. We had some panic moments like, oh my God, we're going under, right? It's like, oh no, okay, let's get the mission statement out, let's get the school improvement out. So it really kept us and guarded us, and it was our gathering point. And there were lots of things that, you know, if you have a staff of, you know, close to 90 people, they're not always going to agree on anything. So, but our mission statement and our school improvement, it became the banner under which we could all come back together under. We might not agree on this, but this is what we do agree on, and this is what we're going to make happen at our school. So, talking fast. But so here's our school improvement plan. We chose 3 focus areas. And the first one was, of course, to increase learning gains for all students by using data-driven, standards-aligned instruction. And the reason we said for all students is because a lot of times, as you guys are all aware, you know, teachers that maybe they're not teaching language arts, or maybe they're not teaching math or a tested area, it's real easy for them to kind of sit back and say, whew, I don't have that test, I don't have that data hanging over. But we started the year by saying, you know what, these are our students. It's not just the language arts teacher students, these are our students. So you teach PE, guess what? You're responsible for our data as well. You know, you teach art, guess what? These are your students. And so moving our school forward was going to take everybody, not just our core subjects. And so we made that very clear. So, and our second goal was we really wanted to focus on math. Math is an area that we saw a very unhealthy trend, which was we saw our 6th graders come in proficiency level in the 30s and 40s, which still needed improvement. But by the 8th grade, we had a steady stream of going down, and it was very alarming and frightening to us. And so pretty much at the end of last year, I non-renewed the majority of our math department. Took a really big risk doing that because a lot of people was like, Ms. Kelly, you're crazy. You can't find good hires in Closton. You know, you can't let these people go. But in my heart, I knew these people are hurting our kids. We're going backwards, right? How can our kids lose knowledge instead of gaining knowledge? So took a risk, did that, and like I said, we started the year with a full house of teachers, and I believe we have highly qualified teachers at our school. So that was one thing, the first thing that we did for math. And then we set our goals high. These are high goals. They might not look high, but they are high goals. And so this math proficiency that we're shooting for is a little bit higher than the state average. Those numbers are. And then of course we focused on science because science, 8th grade science and just science across the board was an issue at our school. We only had like 2% proficiency at one point, and that's unacceptable. So we made science one of our focuses as well. We knew the goals were ambitious, but we believed with the right people and the right systems in place and with fidelity in implementation that we could make some progress. So some of our instructional updates, here's a couple of pictures of some of the programs that we started, some of the instructional things that happened at our school this year. So one of them was we started a new technology program called Project Lead the Way that was offered to our 7th and 8th grade students. Mr. Burnett, aka the money machine we call him, he actually is the one that's teaching that class, and we call him the money machine because he writes grants like he reads the newspaper and people throw money at him. And so we're very happy to have him on our campus. And so he wrote grants for this program. And so we also started a new Math 180 intervention for all of our bottom quartile. And we actually did a promo today because the Math 180 people reached out to us and said, Ms. Kelly, your data is phenomenal. Our kids grew, some of them grew 100%, some of them grew 200%, 2 and 3 and 4 grade levels. Kids that started out 3 and 4 grade levels behind are now on grade level. And so they said, can we use your school? Can we tell your story as part of our promo? So we actually just recorded that today. And so we also implemented data chats with our students 3 times a year. Ms. Perry was a big proponent of that and pushed that and actually made that happen. We did 3 after-school power hours this year, and those were open to students that were not making adequate progress, as well just to students who just wanted to come. They needed the extra support, they needed help with homework, so they came. We did small group instruction in algebra, geometry, ELA, science, and civics. That was huge. We had all hands on deck. We had our district coaches came in and helped us. Everybody up here pretty much taught a small group. These guys had small groups. We pulled kids out of electives. We did everywhere. There was small groups meeting in every corner of our room. And we're hoping it paid off. We haven't got our data back yet, but guess what? Our kids loved it, and we know that they grew. We also did FSA boot camps for the subjects that you see there. And another thing that we implemented was monthly WOW meetings, and that WOW stands for Working on the Work. And that was something that we used our UNICEF funds for. One of the things was that we were actually able to pay our teachers hourly to stay after school for 2 hours once a month to do some in-depth planning, some in-depth data crunching, and plan accordingly. So that was big for us. And we've, of course, continued with our weekly PLC meetings, and just really utilized our coaches. And we also created a common walkthrough checklist that we used we made it a point to give our teachers bi-monthly feedback at least as minimum. Some of them got way more than that. But we created checklists so that just at a glance, anybody that walked in through that classroom knew what they were looking for. And it was either there, it wasn't there, and it was a fluid document. So we changed it ever so often to add some more in-depth things that we were looking for. So, any questions so far? I'm gonna hurry. So, and we're making progress, okay? So here's kind of where we're making progress. So if you look at the screen here, it looks like, oh, you went from 38% to 35%. But here's what we need to really focus on. Is 38% was the FSA data, and that was before the pandemic happened. That was the last time our kids took a test, right? And so our kids were sent home for the last 9 weeks of school, had all summer, and came back, and if you look, this is where we really started the year, was at 29%. So we lost almost 10 points there. And our last benchmark, we were up to 35%. So we're headed in the right direction. And normally the benchmark 3 data is lower anyway because kids are sick of being tested. So some of them take it seriously, some of them don't. And the same thing here, you can see our math, we lost 11 percentage points from 2019 through the pandemic. We started at 23% proficiency, and we're up to 37% proficiency. And algebra and geometry, if you look at that, those aren't really apples to apples because the algebra and geometry were basically readiness tests. So you can see our geometry kids came in, it was 14 students, 100% of them were ready for geometry. But take a look at our algebra. Only 40% of our kids came in ready for algebra. And we don't get to decide who takes algebra. The state decides who takes algebra. And so these were kids that previously, in 6th grade, had made a 3 in FSA math. But they went through 7th grade with some not so good math teachers. And then the pandemic happened, they spent the last 9 weeks at home, and then we come in and we put them right in algebra. So we worked really, really hard with algebra, and I believe that our data is going to show that. All right, a few more updates. So during the pandemic, we tried to find the silver lining during the pandemic, and we said, you know what, this is going to give us time to clean up our campus. So we did a schoolwide cleanup. You can see in this picture down there, that's Miss Perry up in the corner there. You can barely see her, but man, we went in every single closet. We went through everything and found stuff that was 20, 30 years old. We had Mr. Giddens bring over dumpsters, and we filled, I can't even tell you how many that we filled, of just trash, just old stuff. So we cleaned up our campus. We had a landscaping company from Fort Myers that actually donated our courtyard and front office landscaping. They are coming back for phase 2 this year, so we're excited about that. And we updated our gym, all of our teachers, and one of their gifts coming back was brand new office chairs. That was important because our furniture was really, really ratty. We had a teacher our art teacher painted a mural on one of our cafeteria walls, which we'll show you here. And Ms. Perry made it her job, and she did a really great job with this, that all of our classrooms had matching furniture. And that wasn't because we went out and bought new furniture. That was because we went through every classroom and said, take out the blue chairs, add the yellow chairs, take out the blue, literally the entire campus. Because we wanted our kids to come back to a fresh, neat looking campus. They deserve the best, right? If we expect the best from them, then we should give them the best. And so that was really our heart. And of course we made new expectations for our custodial team. There's some pictures. It's our mural over here. Just our teachers receiving their new chairs, okay? Another thing that we knew we needed to work on was culture. This time last year, we had 17 open spots to fill on our campus. It's a little daunting. It's a little nervous about that. But you know what? Provision came and we were able to fill those positions. And we hired highly qualified, most of them local residents from Hendry County, which we think is important. We created, I'm not going to read all of that, but you can kind of see some of the things that we did. One of the things was like, if you look down at number 9, we added clubs this year, and our kids loved our clubs. They loved hanging after school, just to hang after school with us. And Ms. Pereira did a crochet club. And at first when she came to me, she goes, oh, I'm going to do a crochet club. I was kind of like, crochet? Okay. Crochet club was a huge hit on our campus. The kids loved to stay, and also some of our teachers were in the crochet club. And so that was a huge hit. The other thing that we did, I did want to talk about, was number 3. We strategically scheduled, this happened throughout the summer last year, was we took all of our students, 700 students, we made cards on every single one of them, data cards, and we strategically placed them into classrooms and cohorts, like hand-picked every single card and put them in the cohorts, which means we made sure we looked at ethnicity, made sure it was equal across the board, academics, behavior, special services for our students, and so every single classroom was literally hand-picked. And I think that was a huge thing for us as far as culture. It really reduced our discipline. And our kids got to know each other because they weren't having separate different groups of kids. And the other thing was our teachers actually had an opportunity to truly get to know their group of students. And so that was a big thing for us. Some fun school events we did Breakfast of Champions. That was really to honor our kids that come in every day, do the right thing. We did Red Ribbon Week, and why is this important? Well, they sound like normal school events, but in the midst of a pandemic where so many of our kids were coming in, they didn't know which way was up. They didn't know what's happening from one day to the next. We decided that, that our goal was for our school to be a stable and positive environment for our kids, because everything outside of our school this year was not that stable or positive. And so we made it our goal this year we're going to press on with as many things as we can possibly press on to give our kids normal and positive. And these were some of the things that we did this year that we loved. We loved hosting FSA rally. Our kids were over the top for the FSA rally. Our Special Olympics, we actually brought our whole entire school out to be part of the Special Olympics this year. Just lots and lots of fun. We did a turkey trot. Our kids love that in November. So these are some things that we're going to keep on with. And last but not least, these are our future updates. So what are we going into this year to do? Well, we want to build stronger professional learning communities. I feel like we're making a dent in that, but I really want to strengthen that area of our school. We're going to continue to work on student and staff culture. We are going to do more book studies. I'm excited about this. We're doing school-wide avid strategies this year across the board. Make sure that that's happening. We're also starting a house system at the middle school to really get our students to get to know each other. I'm surprised by some kids at the end of the year, they say, well, that boy over there, we're like, what's his name? He's been in your room all year, like, what's his name, right? To really establish that culture a little bit. And we're still working on the student furniture. We have a wish list for an outdoor cafeteria that we would love. We are getting landscaping phase 2. We're already working on that. And very huge wish list for us is that close to middle school, we'll have a digital marquee on Highway 27 That has been a dream in Miss Perry's heart, and we really want to make that happen, period. And so, you know, if you want to make a donation, you can see her after the meeting, or you can simply just cash at me. I'm kidding, but not really. So if that's something that you kind of want to jump on, you can just let me know. So stay tuned for good things from CMS.
All right.
Okay? CMS is on the rise. This is our thing for next year, and we 100% believe it. So, okay, that's it. So thank you guys.
Ms. Kelly, I just want to, in listening to all this, and I'm impressed with what I've seen on the board and what I'm hearing, but most impressed by the work you've done to equalize those cohorts and get those kids in the classes where they need to be and where they're going to be more successful. And I'm thrilled to hear that that's had a positive impact on the students as well as the staff. So I know you guys, y'all inherited a challenge, and so you're rising to the occasion, and I appreciate that work that's gone into it. And in the crochet club, like, let's get this for the adults going here. So I just appreciate that was that working on that cohort stuff is the hard work. It's not very sensational, and but it's the stuff that pays dividends, and so I'm excited to see the payout on that one. But I appreciate the hard work, and thank you guys for
Thank you so much.
commitment.
It's been our honor.
You don't have any questions or comments? Any other questions or comments from the board?
Sounds great to me. Really, I'm very impressed with what you've done. I've been to the middle school for years. I'd go in there. Very calm, quiet, really run differently.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't take the opportunity to say, kind of echo what Ms. Busey said, but, middle school America is by far the toughest gig of any job, much along, the education profession. So my hat's off to all of you. And all of you kind of inherited a tough situation and have absolutely done a phenomenal job at running the school and putting it on the right course. And Mr. Semmerdike was spot on. As I talk and as I go through the community and as I go to different things that I go to, it's the horrific animalistic things that go on. And I always ask, I said, well, why don't you come with me and let us give you a tour? Because what you hear and the perception is absolutely not what's going on in the school systems today. We went through 12 or 14 classrooms one morning. I didn't announce I was showing up. I just showed up. I said, Miss Kelly, let's go walk. We went and walked. Not once did we walk into a classroom where the teachers wasn't teaching, the students wasn't listening, and if they weren't tuned in, there wasn't nothing we could do about that. But they were quiet, and they had their books out, and they were doing exactly what you asked them to do. Much different than the perception of what most people have of our schools, especially our middle schools. So you guys have done a phenomenal job, and you are to be commended. And thank you for being here tonight, and thank you for what you do every day.
It's an honor. Thank you guys.
At this time, is there any citizen comment on agenda items?
I have none.
Seeing none, we will move forward to the consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda a board member would like to have moved to an action item? I would like to have consent agenda item B, personnel recommendations, move to action item E. Okay, Superintendent, do I have a recommendation on the balance of the consent agenda?
I recommend approval of the balance of the consent agenda minus B.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Consent agenda passes unanimously. Moving forward to action items, old business, New Harvest Church Harvest Academy, Memorandum of Understanding for Pre-K ESE. Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
I recommend approval of the New Harvest Academy Memorandum of Understanding.
Do you have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor? Any opposed? Action item A passes unanimously. New personnel allocation request. Superintendent, do I have your recommendation?
I recommend approval of the new personnel allocation request.
Thank you. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Thank you. Any discussion?
Yes, Madam Chair, I do. I've noticed that we're funding 3 of these 4 positions out of general funds, $218,000. I'm just kind of curious if, at that price tag, that seems to be pretty healthy price tag to the district. Kind of wondering what that's going to do to us with our finances. If we could get a little update, between the superintendent and our CFO on that.
I can address that and help you. Even though, and it is correct, they are being funded out of the general funds, as we look at each school and we look at the school FTE, we have personnel allocations that we do. Some of the schools went down, and what you're only seeing is the ones that we're adding. Overall, district-wide, we're only 1.5 personnel positive to where we were. So even though it looks like we're adding 3 new ones, we're also taking away 1.5 old ones that were on here. So we're not really adding 3 new ones as it appears. So the number is not quite as wonky as 200.
So are we actually abolishing those other jobs, or are we just
Trading.
not filling them?
We basically were trading them off in different spots, and some not filling at all, depending on where they were.
So they're going away, they're not going to be existing any longer, is what I'm saying. So in other words, that way nobody can come back at a later date and say, oh, well, we still got these positions we haven't
That's
filled.
correct. Well, it is driven based off the student FTE, and so we may have to come back and add them as we grow in school populations. And so the school population and the grade counts is exactly where we get that information from.
Okay, all right.
No, we either did away with them or traded them to other positions, or, for example, if a said school had a smaller incoming first grade, and so we had to decrease, but yet their 4th or 5th grade was high, we could move the allocation from one to the other. So we moved where we could, but overall, between moving what we could, reducing what we could, and what we needed to add, it was 1.5 personnel more than what we were currently.
So my next question is the new administrator for the collegiate in LaBelle. I wasn't aware we were starting a collegiate academy in LaBelle.
Well, they've had one all along because they've had FSW right there, so it's not on campus.
Right.
But they have no one to be the administrator of that. And earlier today, I had this conversation, and so to give you a heads up as to why we're doing that, the campus is about 1 mile away from LaBelle High School, maybe less.
Right.
In Clewiston last year, we had 30 graduates, 34, and in LaBelle High School, we had 1. That's a shame. That's a travesty. That's absolutely should not happen. And so we need to do a better job of having someone to be the coordinator, and basically they have no one. And so they were paying some teachers this year. They bought their planning periods, but as a result, well, they did have 10 this year, so the number did go up, but that's still very unacceptable. The students in LaBelle High School need better services and better link to getting those AA degrees at FSW. And so that's why we have to do this. This person, what we're going to do is they will not, in Clewiston, they were managing the classes because it was on campus.
Right.
So they're managing students, the classes, the teachers, and everything there. It's a little bit different because the students will be leaving and going to class, so there'll be a little bit less management of said students and teachers at that point in time. But what we're going to do, we're also going to let them be a graduation coach. So work with that senior class to make sure they have their requirements, make sure they're on track. Where are they deficient? What do they need to do? So we believe that this position not only will exponentially raise the FSW participation in graduation, but it also should assist in the graduation rate overall at LaBelle High School.
Is the salary that we're paying this person comparable to what we're paying the person in Clewiston?
Exactly the same. Yes.
So I think it's a little excessive in that aspect to pay them $97,000 a year, and their workload is not quite as heavy as what the Collegiate Academy person is in Clewiston.
Well, that's why we added other things like graduation coach and as assigned by others and as they need be. And it's going to be a heavy lift because the problem is there's no system there now. So even though they're not managing the FSW portion of it and those, but they will still have to build a system. So it's going to be a pretty heavy lift.
But, and I understand that. My other concern is, I thought the part of the Collegiate Academy reason that we did that in Clewiston was that everybody out of LaBelle already had access to FSW education for 2 years, the same thing. And that was kind of why we did the collegiate thing in Clewiston, was to kind of give them the equal opportunity. Is that not kind of why we created that academy program to begin with?
Well, I was not around that.
You're right, you're right. They have the Curtis Scholarship. And, you know, we were part of the ground floor of that, and that's the data that we brought forward, is if you graduate from LaBelle High School, you automatically have that access to Curtis Scholarship. So if that's the case, now you got me thinking, if we're gonna go this route, would Curtis Scholarship reimburse the district? Since if this is approved and we implement a collegiate academy, would that Curtis Scholarship, could the district reclaim that for funding on this?
We have not broached that subject at all. I'll be happy to broach that subject and ask.
So I think maybe we could table that position until we get a little more research done on it then.
I mean, 'cause I know our collegiate academies are not,
Oh,
they're a lot of money.
They are.
But if you could get that scholarship to reimburse that tuition for those 2 years back to Hendry Young, that would be a no-brainer.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll be happy to ask that. I would ask that you approve this. I know that it's expensive, but we have to have this system in place. LaBelle High School is non-existent there now with regard to what we're doing and what we're doing as a school system to provide this opportunity for those students. And we really, and I need to do it now. If you want to look through other avenues, be it Curtis or otherwise, I'm glad to do that.
I understand that. I mean, personally, I can't approve something without having that, but that's just my personal opinion. I'm one of five. We'll put it to a vote and see what happens. I just wanted to throw that out there to see where we're at with that.
And if I may piggyback off of him, is Clewiston going to have equitable services? Like you said, it wasn't going to be as intensive. They were going to get to do some career coaching and stuff of that nature. Would Clewiston High School have those equitable services on that campus that would?
They were working through some of the other positions that we were adding, but just not through necessarily the Collegiate Academy
I don't
person.
think Mr. Roquette could. I mean,
Right.
he's running quite the show there. I don't think he could, but I just wanted to ensure that if we're making this move and providing these resources and classes and opportunities for LaBelle, that I want Clewiston to have it as well.
Sure. And we did talk about it, but it just wouldn't be through that because, like you're saying, the heavy lift of that is quite different in Clewiston because of the dynamics of how it's set up.
How detrimental will it be if we wait 2 weeks, if we table it for 2 weeks? Does that have a calendar, a timeline of wanting to get this boots on the ground? Or?
Yeah, in July, they need to be there.
We already
And then
I'm sorry, you already have somebody in line for the position, lined up for the position?
we do.
Have we already given them a start date?
Yeah, it's on a 12-month contract, which starts July.
Right, but I mean, that's what I'm saying. Have we already started the hiring process with them is what I'm asking?
Full disclosure, it's Mr. Roquette. We've tapped Mr. Roquette to get there and build the infrastructure and system to make that happen.
So what are we going to do with his position then?
In Clewiston?
Yes.
That's the one that we will advertise. We'll have to advertise and hire for that.
So we're going to take away from a successful program. I don't like the sound of that.
I don't like it either.
I really don't like the sound of that one. Okay.
So we should table this. That would be my suggestion. Madam Chair.
I agree. I'm devastated at the thought of, because, this says for LHS. I was assuming that this was going to be a position. I mean, Mr. Roquette's at Clewiston High School, I'm sorry. And to know that we're taking that and moving him somewhere else, and that this was going to be for Closton High School, I don't feel like that was entirely transparent in the packet. And the concern over this is not going to be an inexpensive venture. I would like to know if Curtis Pathways, not Pathways, but Curtis Scholarship would fund our district. It's, I think we got a lot of open questions on that one.
I can help with at least part of it. I can't address the Curtis part because I have no control over that whatsoever. But Mr. Roquette has made a location change in life. And if we don't do this, then we'll probably lose him altogether. So if we don't move him there. So we were able to ask him to stay to do this for us there.
He's actually excited about the opportunity.
It was, yeah, and if we don't do it, then having him won't be an option, I'm sure.
I've worked with Mr. Roquette as a school principal. I've worked with Mr. Roquette very closely with the Collegiate Academy. He has done an outstanding job. There's no doubt in my mind that you'd be hard pressed to find somebody as capable as him to do it.
And that's why I wanted him, the opportunity to have him in LaBelle to build the infrastructure and system there. It's rare, and that's why I was pleased that he was willing at least to stay there long enough to get that done.
I've actually asked Mr. Roquette to bring his students and come and speak at a board meeting because I think people would be so impressed with the caliber of work that those students do and the achievement they do. And so much of it is directed because Mr. Roquette is right with them. He doesn't hold their hand, but they don't do anything that Mr. Roquette doesn't.
Right.
He's done that outstanding.
Sure.
He absolutely has. I having a child that has went through the program, that was one of the first class that actually went full all the way through, come out with his associate's degree. Mr. Roquette did a phenomenal job in the district.
And there's no doubt any of our minds will do that in LaBelle as well, and that's why we want that system built there. We want that paradigm built so that it's there for that LaBelle campus as well.
I do understand the thought of that. I just have a hard time swallowing that price tag and then taking him away out of a program that's successful already that he's built. I understand that you say there's a possibility we might lose him altogether, but it sounds like we might lose him in a couple of years anyway. So I hate to lose him regardless, but I hate to be the one to say, yeah, let's let him go over there, and then we end up having two programs that are in bad shape. So we do have another meeting this month. I would like to see us table this until our next meeting. That still gives us 2 weeks to put it back on the table and then get everything going before the July meeting, before the contract starts in July.
I'm going to state that in motion.
So,
Oh, sorry. Mr. Brennan.
Do we have any like prospects for a job here? We haven't started advertising.
Have not, that's correct.
Okay. I mean, it's a lot of money, I agree that, but we've been here, I guess, since we started with new superintendent. And I think we'll give him a chance. He's sticking his neck out, to see if we can get this position for him. Every other thing, we've not accustomed to getting the phone calls and being well aware of what we're doing as a board. That's been great. By this time, what he's asking us to do, we don't feel good about it, but we ought to give him a chance to see, whether we can make it work or not. We may lose him anyway, I can say, but at least we can try. That's just my 2 cents.
Will Mr. Roquette mentor the new person coming into Clewiston?
Absolutely, yeah.
That's going to be a huge job over here.
That's right.
And still,
Yeah, and as proud as we are of him, he's just that proud of the program that he's built. He's not going to take his hands off of it, his foot off the throttle there. He will not, that was out of his request, could he work with those to make sure that it continued the success there. And again, I just want to clarify that it's not, because of where he's had a residential location change, if we don't make the change for him, we're going to lose him altogether, and then that, won't be an
Well,
option.
I think it's a wonderful plan. The money it's a big chunk to swallow.
It is. People cost money, programs cost money.
But like
It's
they're
expensive.
asking, I mean, the 2 weeks, do you really think that's going to make a huge difference if we can at least have some time to digest?
As far as I'm concerned, no. I can't speak for Jose Roquette. I can't speak for that position situation. That puts him basically at contract time, where if we decide not to do it, then he's looking for a job. So if I was him, I may say, well, let me just see what I can find in the meanwhile to be on the safe side. I mean, it's a risk on our part either way. Very risky on his part if we don't.
I don't want to lose him. He has done a phenomenal job.
I mean, he has literally been the crown jewel of Clewiston High School, because for as hard as we're struggling on those 40 kids who graduated through access points in this last senior class, because they couldn't pass their 10th grade ELA, we had Mr. Roquette to kind of balance that out. And I'm very concerned that it's going to be detrimental to Clewiston High School. I mean, further detrimental, and I mean, I don't want to lose him. I mean, I believe in Team Hendry County, and you want to keep those members in whatever spots you can, but I'm scared it's going to leave that already vulnerable school even more so.
Mr. Chair, if the position is posted at LaBelle, so you post the one in LaBelle, can he not apply for it? Are we going to turn him down if he applies for it?
Absolutely not.
Well, then,
What's going to stop him?
what's, yeah,
We haven't posted it yet, that's the thing.
That's correct.
Position hasn't been advertised. So without it being advertised, I will, again, make the recommendation that we table this until getting a little bit more information about getting reimbursed with the scholarship side of things, and just do a little bit and see what kind of prospects. If we want to advertise to see what we have out there potentially coming in, you know, what kind of people, caliber of people do we have out there available? Doesn't mean you have to hire anything.
You're still taking a big risk.
But
Like I said,
Yeah,
about
but I think it's a risk regardless. I mean, if he's not happy, he's not happy. I don't know how many different jobs you guys have ever worked in your life, but when you're not happy somewhere, you're not happy somewhere. And it's very tough to make somebody happy again. I mean,
Well,
that's just
It's not
reality.
that he's not.
I want to tell you, he's not that he's not happy. He's so happy that they don't want to leave the county. I mean, they moved way out of the county, and he's willing to travel back, but traveling all the way to Clewiston would add too much travel time.
Right.
So we landed on, what if you went to LaBelle to build that program? And he says, and I could stay, I'll build that program, make sure the Clewiston program is successful. But if it's not that, I doubt that he's going to travel. He will not travel to Clewiston. And to be clear, if the Curtis Scholarship says no, you don't want to fund this.
Well, I would even say if they say no, I would say even if we could strike some kind of a compromise with him, you know, asking him if he would be willing to train somebody, like Mr. Houston had mentioned, and work with him that way, a couple days a week back and forth, both of them being on both sides of the county together, much like we've hired Mr. Sanchez to collaborate the high schools and the middle schools together, right? Why couldn't we do that with the collegiate side of things too? And let them work together and then eventually separate them where he needs to be over there. You know, something, just try to work that out in some way.
Well, we already have that commitment. That's not an issue.
Well, I thought that sounded to me like he was going to be staying in the LaBelle side.
Well, he'll go there and build the pair down, but again, he's not going to take his foot off the throttle and allow the Clewiston program not to be successful. He's going to ensure that whoever gets that position will be adequately trained, have the information and direction they need.
But he won't be boots on the ground.
He could be. He could be if he needed to go there for said.
Could be, that's what I'm saying, could be and will be is two different things. That's what I'm saying. I would like to say this is the plan, absolute plan. Make sure that we are having boots on the ground with him, not.
Well, what I mean by could be is if he's needed there, he could go there.
Right.
I mean, but it's going to be on an as-needed basis.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I don't know that I like the as needed. I think I want the hands-on training,
But I think it's
for
going
sure
to
to set thing.
take most of his time if he's implementing a brand new program on this side of the district. The majority of his
well, aren't they
time is-
12 months? Aren't they all 12 months? So before school starts, college doesn't start until about the 15th of August. So those students, so isn't he gonna have the whole month of July to work with that other person?
Right.
Aren't they gonna do boots on the ground and sit together and go over those plans together?
Yes.
And whether the Curtis Scholarship reimburses us or not, I don't think that affects our scholarship, our collegiate programs one way or the other. I mean, it would be very nice if they reimbursed them, but why would they have to? They've never done that. That's been in effect since 1989. She has paid for those kids to go to those colleges and stuff like that. But the district paid for it up until they graduated from high school. So I'm not sure that that's an essential piece.
I think that, I don't know how many years Mr. Roquette has been here, but everyone is saying the same thing about what an awesome job he's done. What message they would tell him if we do this? If we just, you know, he's busted his butt for all the years he's been here. So, I mean, I suggest we just take a vote and move on. All we can do.
Well, when you approve this, it's not just the position, you're also approving the tuition and the books, and it's not inexpensive. And it's very, I mean, we've had to rob Peter to pay Paul before to make this happen in past years. And so you're gonna look at least doubling that money. It's not just this $97,000, it is what's coming down the road after that. And so I do think it's very pertinent to find out if we can get some relief from those scholarships on that, because the purpose of this was to provide equitable access to AA that the kids at LaBelle High School were getting, that the kids at Coulson High School weren't. I mean, that was the basis of this whole school within a school model. And I very much think that the funding to pay for that collegiate program, I mean, the administrator is the drop in the bucket, that salary. It's what's coming after that. And I do think it's pertinent when, you know, we are, you know, counting our pennies and trying to make it stretch, and, you know, we never know what the legislature is going to hand down to us as far as budget. And these aren't going to be general fund expenditures.
Yeah, I understand. I understand. But we have to look at what are we saying to Mr. Roquette?
That he's wonderful and that we want to split him right down the middle, like split a baby. That's what we're
When we've had a budgeted deficit, that's the scary part about it.
Yeah.
You know, I couldn't agree more. Do we have any idea what the other costs included with this program may tally up to?
Other costs of being tuition.
Tuition and books, and yeah, all the other goodies that go along.
I would be taking a stab in the dark at best at it.
So I would kind of like to see that number before we jump off of this bridge here.
And any other talks of funding for that? Are there any other avenues to explore grants, scholarships that?
Up until now, we have not. We only have the dual enrollment, that fund, you know, categorical line that we create, that we pay for those students to go. But as far as I know, we've not had any further discussion with regard to looking for any type of scholarship or anything to offset any of those expenses.
Yeah.
Not to say we could not, but to my knowledge, we have not up to this point.
Like I said, I kind of think we need to look at that number before we jump off this bridge and know exactly what we're dealing with number-wise. See.
Ms. Cox, do you have an idea of what we spent on Collegiate Academy last year?
I do not off the top of my head, but Mr. Swindle is right that we do get the instructional materials allocation, a dual enrollment allocation that helps fund the textbooks through that program. So we would see, you know, it comes down through each FEFP calc, so as that FTE increases, we would see more funding. Would it cover it all? You know, most likely not.
Any idea what the offset would be? It just, like, how much the instructional appropriation would be for the textbooks? I'm thinking we're at like $500,000 on, am I wrong on that one? Is
That's
it?
the total instructional materials allocation just for dual enrollment. It's definitely not that much for dual enrollment.
I don't think the textbooks are, it's the tuition. which is the lion's share of that line item.
Which we cannot pay for through instructional materials.
No.
So our dual enrollment anticipated allocation for next year is almost $55,000.
For just textbooks.
Correct.
Okay, so we would double that, at least, estimating that.
And I wouldn't say you're necessarily going to double the number of kids taking dual enrollment credits. There's already a lot of students at Level High School that take advantage of going down 1 mile. There's a huge volume of kids. So I don't anticipate the cost for tuition going to skyrocket. What's going to help is that Mr. Roquette's going to come in and be able to put structures in place to make sure that instead of kids taking one class here, one class there, one class over there, and then ending up with not being able to take all 60 college credits within those 2 years, he's going to put structures in place to make sure that you do have a huge number of students at LaBelle High School graduating with an AA degree. So tuition cost-wise, I don't see it exploding. There's already a lot of kids. And because there's not the oversight that there is in Lewiston and LaBelle, you end up having more kids do course failures, fail the course, and have to retake, which is again an added cost back to the school district because there's nobody meeting with them like there is on the Lewiston side. Every 3 weeks, they're helicoptering over those kids. And so putting Mr. Roquette over there will strengthen that program. And we should probably have more kids at LaBelle High School graduate every year just because of the number of the seniors that are in each class, percentage-wise, than you're going to see in Lewiston. Hopefully the day will come when we have 100 kids between LaBelle and Lewiston that have an AA degree when they walk on that stage at graduation. So hopefully, with his oversight and helping the Lewiston Collegiate Academy Administrator, developing those systems in place, we're going to see that day where we have, the last 2 years, we've had almost 70 students at Lewiston High School graduate with an AA degree. At LaBelle, in the same 2 years, there's only been like 10 or 11 combined in the last 2 years. That can't happen.
That's a good point, and thank you, Mr. Sanchez, and I'm sorry, I didn't mean to mislead y'all when I said we had 2 and 1 graduates with AA degrees, but there were many more students there that didn't complete because there was no one, that like Mr. Roquette to facilitate the experience for them and make sure that they were on track and doing what they had to do.
But out of that deal there, though, with that scholarship, for the next 2 years after they graduated, they still had the opportunity to complete their schooling. How many actually went ahead and got their AA? Because that's kind of what we were comparing when we started this collegiate academy. So do we have those numbers?
How many kids after they graduated from LaBelle High School go on and completed?
Went ahead and completed, yes.
Ones that were students to start with.
That were students in LaBelle that went on and completed theirs.
What do you mean that were already taking classes?
From LaBelle, how many completed it 2 years after they graduated high school?
I don't know.
The goal would be to have them complete their AA degree when they graduate at LaBelle High School so they can take advantage of the Curtis Scholarship in the next 2 years. If they wanted to finish up their master's degree at FSW, they could then utilize. And then we would have literally kids graduating from LaBelle High School with 0 college expense for 4 years.
Correct. To come back and be teachers.
And then yet we're falling behind on Lewiston's side again by 2 years.
Well,
that's exactly why we created this program to begin with, the Collegiate Academy to begin with, was to compete and give them the same opportunity to come out of high school or get a 2-year degree paid for just the same as the kids in LaBelle are.
Yeah, so one of the beautiful things that equalizes that between Lewiston and LaBelle is that on the Lewiston side, you have students that are eligible for the FGCU scholarship. If they graduate with their AA degree from Lewiston High School, they're eligible to take advantage of the $5,000 per year for up to 3 years at FGCU.
But what are the costs of the classes over there?
At FGCU?
Yeah, they exceed that $5,000 though.
It's probably higher than $5,000, but when you add in the Pell Grants and you add in other scholarship sources, we have a lot of students that don't have to pay anything at a cost to graduate from FGCU.
But that's my point. Right now with the Collegiate Academy, they don't have to go for the Pell Grant. They don't have to do all those other stuff. They get the education right then with it without having to go through all the other hoops of the paperwork. So that's what I'm saying. You're going 2 to 4 again if you.
A concern would be if the parents who had the means you know, if they could go and do Collegiate Academy and then take the Curtis Scholarship and add another 2 years on it, why wouldn't parents be snatching their kids out of Closton High School and sending them over to LaBelle?
That's true
My
too.
understanding is they've had the Curtis Scholarship at LaBelle High for many years. And what I was referring to the FGCU is that's on top of. So the FGCU scholarship is only for students that have already graduated from Cleveland High School
Right.
with their AA degree. So that's an additional scholarship opportunity for the Collegiate Academy graduates of CHS.
Right,
It's not
right.
in lieu of.
Yeah, because my son got the same thing when he graduated, but the classes were exceeding that $5,000 scholarship that he was receiving. And that's what I'm saying. So it's not apples to apples still.
But this Curtis Scholarship was a donation from a woman who set up certain goals and said students that graduated from LaBelle High School could use that for their further education. You're going to have to look at the contract that was written to make that determination. Just because it's not exactly fair between one side of the county and the others, it was a private donation. So we're trying to bring that in and make everybody even. I don't know if you can do that with a private donation. Just because somebody decided this is what she wanted when she died, she made that part of her will. So what it is, I mean, you're going to have to really go and look at the language in that before you say, well, now she's going to pay for the high school classes when they're taking it in high school. I'm not sure that you're going to be able to do that. I think you're going to have to look at that contract.
Yeah, and that's what we were talking about, having them look to see if they can do that or not.
We're still back to Mr. Roquette.
Yes, we are.
I think the man deserved the position, man. If we got to this point now, we take a vote. If I lose, I take my loss. But if we win, then we go on. And we put in a vote. And plus, the kids in the bill are going to benefit by it. Cleveland has a program, it's working good. Somebody go in and they can continue it on. With Roquette, watching, whatever, but we need to just say no now. Give him a chance.
I feel like if it was the other way around, there would be a lot of pushback if we were taking from the west side of the county to supplement the east side of the county. I think there would be tremendous pushback on that. And
Madam Chair, I'm not even thinking east side, west side of the counties. I'm thinking of the whole program, both programs as a whole. I'm not thinking LaBelle versus Clewiston. I'm thinking of the district as a whole and what we're doing to everybody. Financial, the financial piece of things, I just don't think we have quite enough information. I'd like to know what financial impact this is going to have on the district, sustainability, are we going to be able to sustain this from now until the Lord comes? I mean, we just need to know a little bit more information, I personally feel. Because the last thing we want to do is offer a collegiate academy for 3 years and then go, we're broke. Sorry, we got to drop the program. That's kind of my...
I want to ensure both schools have equitable inputs. I mean, because then there's a reasonable expectation of equitable outputs at that point. So if you want to table, can you state the motion?
I make a motion that we table it till we get just a little bit more information and bring it back at our next meeting. And if we can just get a little bit more financial information on this in 2 weeks.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second, thank you. Do we have any discussion on the tabling of the administrator of collegiate high school?
Can we hold a special meeting after 1 week? Is that enough time to collect data, have a special meeting to vote on something like that?
Vote on special meetings and stuff?
Something like that?
I don't know if you got time to advertise within 1 week.
Yeah.
Could be Tuesday. It has to be Wednesday or Thursday.
Advertise it and get it out there. If you're going to postpone it, I don't think there's any harm in waiting the 2 weeks. If it's going to cause issue, it'll cause it within 1 or 2 weeks. I don't think there's any benefit to doing it in 1 week. personally. Unless you just wanted to do it, we'll make it happen if that's just what you want.
No, I am nervous about the 2 weeks before contracts and, Mr. Brooke had another new clause in his lap. I do understand that. That
All right, do we have any further discussion?
To be clear, Madam Chairman, may I ask a clarification question?
Yes, sir.
On the, you have 1, 2, 3, you have 4 items you're talking about,
The motion is to table administrator.
administrative collegiate.
High school.
High school, okay, got it. That one only, okay.
Any further discussion on the motion to table? All right, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, motion does not pass with Bascom and Busen with a nay. All right, do I have a recommendation on the balance? Well, actually on all of it. On all of the new personnel allocation.
So moved.
Okay, any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Okay, new personnel allocation requests passes 4-1 with Bascom nay.
May I add though, to the board, that I will still go down the road, seeing what opportunities are there to offset cost and answer any questions we can about, because there is valid questions there about the expenses. So we're more than happy to put that packet together and provide that information as well.
Thank you, that would be very much appreciated.
Sure.
For sure.
Okay, moving forward to action item C, 2021 administrative reappointments. At this time, I would ask to remove Anthony Busen from that. It's relative, so I can't vote without a conflict of interest on that. But on the balance of the administrative appointments, Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
I recommend approval of the 2021-22 administrative reappointments minus Mr. Anthony Busen.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All in, or sorry, you're messing me up over here. Motion a second. Do I have any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The 2021 administrative appointments pass, or minus Anthony Busen passes unanimously. And then for the administrative appointment of Mr. Busen, once again, I state I'll be abstaining from this vote out of a conflict of interest. That is my spouse. So Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
I recommend the appointment for 2021-22 administrative appointment of Mr. Anthony Busen.
Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries 4-0 with Busen abstaining. We have action item D, the 2021-22 bus routes and school schedules. Superintendent, do I have a recommendation?
I recommend your favorable consideration of the 2021-22 bus routes and school schedules as printed.
So
Thanks.
moved. Second.
Okay, do we have any discussion?
Madam Chair, not necessarily a discussion more than a comment. I would just like to say that I have seen some of our buses, and I'm very impressed with, at one point in time, we had buses stopping on Highway 27. And now we are making every effort for them to get off of the highway for safety. And I'm so glad to see that. You know, I think that is just such a brilliant move to stop a bus off the side of the highway rather than in the middle of the highway. So whoever made that happen, thank you. I know that was some discussion that we've had in the past on that stuff.
Oh, good job.
And so, thank you.
Agreed.
So that was all I had.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I wasn't, I was just trying to be funny. Terrible joke.
Husband doesn't like me.
I was just watching your husband.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? The 2021 bus routes and school schedules passes unanimously. Moving forward to personnel recommendations that came out of the consent agenda. Superintendent, do I have your recommendation?
I recommend approval of the personnel recommendations as printed.
Do I have a motion? Second?
Second?
Okay, thank you. Any discussion? All right, I have discussion on this one. You did the wrong one. Two of us together. So we're at consent agenda.
Oh, we're back up here, I'm sorry, I never moved it.
I left my iPad on the charger.
Okay.
All right, I want to chat about administrator of school improvement. As I requested for the sake of jogging my memory, what the director of school improvement was. A lot of these align to, those goals. But what I'm finding in a lot of these actually have a file folder of all job descriptions. And I see a lot of replication. Replication on instructional coaches, replication on reading coaches, and this is another $97,000 a year job. And, I know that when the superintendent asked us to support his restructuring of administration, we put in, with federal funding, 2 directors of teaching and instruction. And I'm just, I'm thinking about this one. You've got 4 campuses. You would have a director, not only the school administration on each one, and the instructional coaches and the reading coaches on them, but we're going to add another administrator for 4 sites. And so it, got me thinking about, we have the director of elementary. Well, she's got 6. Does she need one now? Or Mr. Brown has 12 facilities, 12 campuses, and 4 or however many other facilities. Same with Mr. Busen here. And is this something we're going to be looking forward for everybody who has more than 4 asking for an administrator going forward? And I thought the purpose of having a director was to break that out and to they were going to be able to cover this, particularly when so many of these things in this job description just seem to be replicated. And I feel like that's just a lot of money. That's my 2 cents.
So the funding for these positions, are they ESSER monies? ESSER monies? So in 2 years, they're no longer reoccurring then?
Right, and on the bottom of the description, we put in there that it was dependent upon those ESSER funds, that when they ran out, that we were no longer obligated to maintain that position or pay that person. That is correct.
So, Madam Chair, I do have a question on that. We have had quite a few of these over the years, grant-funded positions. And unless I'm missing them, I don't ever recall a notification stating that this grant has ran out and that this person is no longer employed because of this grant running out. Can we start getting those kind of notifications?
It's on there.
It isn't?
It's on that, it's on this one.
No. In 2 years, we get a notification saying that this ESSER fund has ran out.
Oh, I see what you're saying. If you would like
that,
to,
we
sure.
ran out.
I see what you're saying.
Had run out and that.
Expired?
Yes, that this position is no longer available.
Right.
So.
Has that happened in the past?
We have not received those
A lot of it
notifications.
fall under
Right,
grant funded.
Right.
And we know that at some point the grant has either diminished or the grant has run out.
Right.
And then we still have these positions.
Right. I understand what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying.
Right.
Can we start receiving or putting in, for those kind of notifications? How hard would that be?
The ESSER fund has ran its course and we no longer are receiving those funds.
Right.
Okay.
Right. And then at that point, we can say, hey, this person has helped our district. We've increased 87% because of this position. We would like to continue this position out of general funds, or whatever.
At the end of the day, that's what we're looking for, is the impact on kids, on
That's right.
student achievement.
That's the biggest thing is the bang for the buck. What are we getting for the money we're spending? What are our kids receiving for the money we're spending?
Sure.
Bottom line, that's what we are, what I'm looking at.
Right. And I don't have a problem at all doing that. That should be an easy mechanism to put in place.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
I also want to know if our other directors out here who don't have an administrator are going to be looking for an administrator. I mean, does that set the precedence on that? Is that? I mean, I know we got people here handling, 6 campuses, we've got them with 12, we've got,
So if I may.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. The goal and the object here is to improve schools. The ESSER funds are intended to be used to raise academic achievement, especially amongst the schools and the school system where learning loss occurred. Unfinished learning happened. No doubt, and we know that that happened. That's a real thing. On top of that, we have some very, we're not a great performing academic district to start with. And so when you add that on there, then that really compounds the issues that we have. So from my perspective, the ball is in our court. The time is not on our side. We have the unprecedented ability to spend some funds that was intended to improve the academics of our school. The purpose of that and the purpose of this position is to laser focus on those schools, on where and why we are struggling with either hiring the correct staff or coaching the correct staff in order to be able to teach those students in a highly impactful way, to use your terminology, which is spot on. And the thought process came from close to middle schools, double D situation, and the turnaround team that was here. The mechanisms that they used, the method that they went through the classrooms and how they dealt with the teachers and the planning, and how you help teachers plan and how you coach that teacher then by following it into the classroom. It's phenomenal, and that's part of the reason why, that's a huge reason why Ms. Kelly and her team have been so successful. And so our thought process is, if it will work for a turnaround school, why would it not work for any school in our district that needed that extra help? Laser focused on how do we improve school, improve student achievement, and that's what our goal is. In this particular situation, in order to get anyone that has that turnaround experience, that growth experience, that mindset and framework, to be able to make that happen for all of our school systems, we're going to have to classify them in such a job that it's beneficial. And it happens to be administrator in this situation. Just happens to land there. It's not the fact that Mr. Sanchez wants, needs, or is desiring an administrator. It's the fact that that's what we're having to hire in order to get the correct person and personnel in place to do that with. We believe that it'll be a fairly short-lived job. We believe that said person will come in and build the capacity within our schools to understand how to train their own people. Because right now we don't have that. Right now we don't have the principals and APs and deans and coaches that have that massive and focused training on how specifically do we unpack the new standards? How do we plan accordingly? How do we roll that out? How do we make sure that the teacher is extrapolating that into grade, lesson, level appropriate instruction in the classroom? How do we ensure student learning happens? And so it's a very hyper-focused person that we want to work strictly on that. We don't want to take away from Ms. Duncan. We don't want to take away from Mr. Sanchez dealing with parent complaints, handling the issues that go on in the school, dealing with student discipline, and handling all those other things. Could they do these jobs? They could, is a short answer. But it would take time in their current capacities because they have done a phenomenal job. And they are doing some of this now. But we don't have 3 years, we don't have 4 years for them to work into this and to get us where we need to be. I'm talking about a 12-month improvement plan that will help Hendry County schools move from where we are to a level on a course of being a high-achieving rural district, which is unheard of. Is it going to cost money through ESSERs? It is. Is it going to add us more administrators and make us top-heavy? It probably is. Are you happy with where we are and where we have been academically? I'm not. And I believe all of you would agree that you're not as well. So this is going to cause us to do things we've never done before, spend money we've never spent before, from a grant we've never had before, to get the results that we all want. So is there a lot of questions? Is there uncertainty? There is. But I believe we've got to be risky. We've got to step out on the edge if we're going to drive our school to a place we've never been before. So that, unless you have questions, that's kind of my thought process behind the request.
I do have comments. So, when you ever put your data on the board, I'm over here scribbling it down.
Yeah.
And so what I saw out of secondary is these kids are coming in, you know, we're looking at, I'm not beating on close to middle school today, but their numbers were on here and they're fresh. So you have 35% ELA proficiency, 37% math proficiency. So wouldn't this be more like maybe we should be focusing on that ounce of prevention instead of that pound of cure in secondary?
Yep.
I mean, because, you know, one of the things that used to blow my mind before I got into like the education realm was, you know, realizing that we've got kids, the majority of our kids rolling into middle school behind the bar. And maybe our ESSER money would be better used on that level and appropriated to things like proven reading strategies, and maybe that's where the teacher training needs to get to, because by the time you hit, and you know, I'll even drop math and let's just talk ELA, but by the time you get behind the bar in the 3rd grade, you're in a deficit for most likely for the rest of your academic career. And so why isn't, you know, I think an investment of that money would be upfront into that, you know, that ounce of prevention other than the pound of cure in secondary.
And it is, and you're talking about on the elementary side.
Yeah, like
Okay.
that's where your resources have to
Right.
be, particularly through the K through 3rd.
Right, and we're not leaving them out. This is just a separate ask. They were able to do what they needed to do and what they felt like was equal to that by some of the current hires that they are bringing in through some other areas, through some other grants, and bringing some people back on board. And so we're not by any means neglecting that or not doing that. They just felt like they had their hands on what they needed for their improvement and for their task piece.
Madam Chair. I do have a question. I would like to see if we could get an update from Mr. Sanchez and Ms. Duncan on how things have been going. What have they been seeing over the last several months? You know, since they have stepped into these new roles. At maybe our next meeting, let them give us a little presentation
Okay.
on how things are going with, you know, with their new.
I would
Yeah.
love that. I would love that, because what we're hearing, I want to hear about the plan. How are we getting here? But what we're seeing as board members is one more person, add this allocation, add this here, add this there. What about the plan? Like, how are we making all these people work together to achieve that goal?
Okay.
That's good.
We're not putting them on the spot, you know, tonight.
It may not be the next meeting if that's okay, just because the vacation times have already been mapped out, but we will do it at the next available board meeting that we're all present, if that's okay.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. I just would like to see that, you know, if it's not the next one, the one after that, whatever, but as quickly as we could.
Okay.
Maybe one at a time is fine with me. You know,
Okay.
if one of them wants to go one day, one another day, that's fine.
Great idea.
And I want to be clear, I want to make sure, Mr. Bascom, that I captured your bullets. You said you wanted to update from the secondary and elementary directors on specifically what now?
Just how everything's going, you know, what they have accomplished, what they foresee in the future, you know, how's everything working out for them? Is it going the way they were anticipating? Are they having pushback? You know, what is their goals? Their short-term, long-term goals? Just kind of give us an overview on everything that's going on with them.
Okay,
If I
and you
can,
said,
can I piggyback
yes,
on that?
make sure I have
I want to make sure that we understand what the plan is, what their action steps they are taking to, you know, have a reasonable expectation of, you know, improved student achievement.
Okay.
You know, I don't, you know, I care about how things are going and your, you know, the foresight, but I want to know exactly, you know, how we are planning to take us from this point to this point.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, I think we got the discussion.
Good night for discussion.
All right, do we have any further discussion on this one? Okay, these are all personnel. All in favor? Any opposed? Personnel recommendations passed unanimously. Moving forward to board member business. You know what, buddy, I am going to let you just go ahead and make all of this in your recommendation. You can just,
All at once?
well, yeah, I mean, it's the advertising policies, but he has to read all the bylaws and policy numbers, and I'm not gonna read it and then turn around and him read it again, so the
We have to read
recommendation.
them all? We have to read them all?
Yes.
We have to read every one of these?
That's-
Holy
that's-
mackerel.
that's fine. You can just go ahead and do it. I don't believe in, I don't like replication, so let's just do this.
All righty then. Madam Chairman, I recommend approval of policies and permission to advertise proposed revisions in bylaws 0164, 0165, 0165.1, 0166, 0166.1, and policies 1122, 1122.01, 1362, 2260, 2260.01, 2266, 3122, 3122.01, 3362, 4122, 4122.01, 4362, 5517, 5610.01, 5724, 6114, 6320, 6325, 7100, 7440.01, 7450, excuse me, 7455, 8450.01, 8500, and 8510. Would you like to hear those again?
I'm sorry, I didn't understand.
Yeah, one more time.
Sold. Sound like an auctioneer.
You did. So we have the recommendation. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All
Do
right.
we have a second?
Yeah.
Any discussion?
Yes. Are we ready?
We're not gonna, this is just permission to advertise.
So we don't discuss the policies
Nope,
at this time?
that, we're gonna have a hearing after this.
Okay,
And so this would just be, hey, we're putting this out here to let people know that we're gonna have a hearing probably at the next board meeting.
very good. Thank
No,
you.
maybe 2 board meetings from now. Okay,
And- But I would say if you had issue with anything that we needed to correct, feel free to engage me individually.
I will do that.
Okay.
okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All right.
Aye.
Any, what?
Actually, I do have one thing.
Okay, we're gonna walk this back. We don't care about your favor. We'll go back to discussion.
I do have one thing I'd like to ask. Could we please not have quite as many of those thrown at us like that at one time? Because that means we're gonna have to approve all of these at at another meeting, correct? Or can we just put like 5 at a time on there? 'Cause that is a lot of reading.
I read this
In
for
5
2
days.
days. 2 days, I read this
That's
word,
what
I
I'm
said,
saying.
this doesn't even,
The issue with that is you have to have a hearing and you have to have, what, 21 days?
And then you have to wait 7 days for the hearing, but all of these are from the Neola update. These are channeled from them or policies that require updating.
Right, which
I got in February and it took me this long
yeah, reading
to
through.
bring them to you, to break them out in board meetings over a span that long. It took quite a while.
well, I wondered who went through all this to begin with. When I was reading that, I said, who's in charge of this?
Reading through.
Now
there,
I know.
It sounds like a lot of that, they're just changing a word here and there to justify their checks. I mean, honestly. So, yeah, it just is, I'm just being honest and transparent. They're justifying, they're trying to anyway.
That's what we're paying for, is to keep us legal and
Yeah.
the correct updated, because what they do is they monitor the changes from DOE and the state and then update the policies
Some of
accordingly.
their,
If they don't do it, then we have to do all of it.
some of
So,
their updates,
right,
we
it was a,
need to undate.
yeah, yeah.
That would be a discussion.
That's for
Hearing.
the hearing, yeah, that's what I'm saying, it's just trying to change 1 or 2 words, and I think they're, but we'll get to that during the hearing.
All right, okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Permission to advertise all the policies that he previously stated, and his recommendation passes unanimously.
Take that, Richard.
Oh, I got it.
I'm gonna read it
I spent
again.
too much time reading this.
Financial statement is an FYI. I've asked the superintendent going forward to give us in our executive notes on here, just to give us an analysis, just the superintendent's analysis of our financial statements. That's not on this one, but he indicated that we would be doing that going forward. So now we move into executive session at this time.
Did you board member of business, we're gonna come back and do that.
Do you,
Oh, yeah.
We do have board meeting business.
well, we are. I just tried to shortchange all you guys. I apologize. Reverend Brown, do you have anything?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Samardite?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. I've been watching on the television, the governor has said he's sending $1,000 to every classroom teacher. And I was wondering, what is that transition? When can they expect those checks? I did talk to Ms. Cox about this a little bit
Jeanette, you
today.
have an update?
Yeah, I can speak to this. So the plan that we as finance officers have heard so far is that the state is going to make these payments directly to full-time classroom teachers and principals. So it's anticipated they're gonna send those checks out by June 30th. They will uphold like all the tax implications of that. You know, us as finance officers were really surprised to hear the state was gonna take this on themselves. So we're asking questions like, you know, we know in statute what a full-time classroom teacher is, so if a teacher only has students assigned to them 50% of the day, do they not qualify? What if they taught virtual, because we had some virtual instruction this year still, do they qualify? So there's a lot of questions that we as finance officers have, and also because I'm sure you've heard a lot of districts are planning to give bonuses to other staff, non-classroom, you know, outside of principals as well, and can we use other funding for that? And the state's just not providing a lot of guidance, so we've been pressing DOE, we as finance officers have been pressing DOE to get some answers. We're really waiting on it. All they're telling us is that they're gonna make the payments by June 30th.
Well, that answers the question as far as anybody knows. Yes, thank you. But the next question, I know we've got a new program, data program that's for personnel and for finance, Skyward. We tell how that's updating. That's got to be in line by July 1st. Are we moving along on that?
Go ahead. Are you want me to chime in?
Yeah, I think Jason and I can both answer this. It's moving along pretty good. We're just getting into the thick of things. We started within the last 2 weeks to really have like set up meetings, verification of data, because we've migrated some data over, process meetings. So it's going fairly well. It's going to be approaching us very quickly. You know, we're live July 1. We're done with Apex. So there's a lot in preparation of that transition, but so far, I mean, things have been going fairly smooth.
Yeah, we have an implementation calendar set. Our trainings are beginning this month for all of our end users. Within a weekly, honestly, we probably spend, I know I do like 6 hours a week with Skyward and with the migration process. So we'll be ready to go from July 1, no questions.
Well, I have talked to some of the clerks, and I know they're busy in anticipating that and going to training. I talk about them, they're online doing that. So I just want to make sure we're up to par on what's going on, yes.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Then I got a question on the elementary and secondary school emergency relief money. Could you sort of briefly summarize? I hear about it all the time, but how is that laid out? How does it come to us?
You mean, are you speaking on the ESSER funds?
Yes, ESSER funds.
ESSER,
Okay. Yeah, that ESSER is the,
okay, got it.
Okay, I can take that one on. So, you know, right now we have ESSER 1, and we're anticipating to get ESSER 2 and ESSER 3 sometime in the future. We're hoping in July we'll have ESSER 2, but how that money is allocated to us is that the Fed's allocated to the state based on the funds that the state gets for Title I Part A. And then the state flows it to us in the same manner. So let's say Hendry County received 3% of the state's total Title I Part A allocation, will receive 3% of their ESSER allocation, essentially. So that's how the funds are flowing to us. There's a myriad of things that we can use it for. There's a list of assurances that we sign when we send the application to DOE. You know, I think the current ESSER 1 that we have was about 2.6 million. ESSER 2 is anticipated to be 10.4 million. And ESSER 3, we're looking at around 22 million based on the projections that we've got.
is that how we're projecting our budget for the year, using those ESSER funds, including those ESSER funds? Is that how that's?
Definitely, in my award. So like when we approve the fiscal year 22 budget, if we don't physically have an award, knowing that we have access to that money, it will not be in the budget. So then you would see it come through the budget amendments that we bring forward later in the year.
Thank you. And Mr. Timberlake, if I may, I want to add to that. All the conversations and the understanding that we have had is that we're being very careful not to make ourselves dependent on the extra monies. Everything that we are investing, we are making sure that it is either going to be to enhance student education, to add short-term type employment for people to build capacity and do things to move us to a better place. But we're not doing things that we're going to have to sustain.
Well, that's what I'm asking, yes.
Right, we want to make sure of that. So everything that we're doing with ESSER funds is investment type purchases.
So some of these new positions is that we're hiring for 2 years, that's ESSER monies, and then we'll have to redecide that.
Well, and as Ms. Cox stated, we're talking on ESSER's 1 now, we're anticipating ESSER's 2 and ESSER 3. So
Right.
even though we know we're talking about ESSER's, it may be, and we do anticipate it being perpetual for a good handful of years that we'll be able to invest that money. So although we're saying, yes, it's going to be a 2-year or a 3-year type of employment, but if the funds are there and we're seeing phenomenal gains in our schools.
Sure, which we all hope
This
for.
board's not going to look at us and say, no, you said that was only 2 years, you got to do away with that. 'Cause we know that's not the case.
Thank you. Thank you. That's it for me.
Mr. Basswood?
Yes, ma'am. Just kind of curious on the K-12 financial bubble that we had. Have we made any headway on figuring out any of that situation? And can we get, I mean, I know it's kind of on the spot, so I'm not expecting an answer right now.
I'll give you an answer right now.
You're the man.
Is that all your question? Did you have
And
anything
then,
specific?
then I just wanted to see, I know we're getting ready to jump hard and heavy into budgeting.
Yes.
So.
Right. So,
Where are we at with that?
right, yeah, so, our partners with K-12, now known as Digital Academy of Florida, DAOF, they had to do a name change. We have been, in some very high-level discussions with our leadership, their lobbyists, state of Florida Chief Financial Officer, and the crux of the situation, as y'all well know, is that they are, a lot of their influx of FTE and how the state looks at the FEFP process has cost us some monies in our categoricals. We were hoping to work that out with the state of Florida through the Department of Education, but they were unable to do so. Since this is a fairly new, they had no policies and procedures or way to protect it, help us, or anything. And so basically the short answer is no. The Department of Education was unable at this point in time. They see it's an issue, they want to work on it going forward, but you made a good point. We have a budget to work on today. We don't have next budget year or next cycle of legislation to make that happen. So we're working back again and closely with our partners at DAOF to hopefully ask them to help us work through the situation. And the ball's kind of in their court financially for how that's going to work out. We're waiting to hear back from them. We've been, as early as today, we're still in conversation with them. They're having levels on their meeting. Ms. Cox has done a phenomenal job at analyzing the income, analyzing where they are with the type of payments and the type of money that we're going to be short on some of the categoricals. So kudos to her, because it's not easy to understand that process, but she's done just a phenomenal job in that. It is absolutely crucial that we get this answer shortly because, to your point, we are in budget cycle. We are in the preliminary stages of what our funding is going to look like for next year. So we have to have that. We have to have those numbers. And they're well aware of that. We're all well aware of it. And we're willing to move forward. And we're anticipating moving forward very quickly. To answer your question, today, I don't have any further answers than what I did in January. We were hoping that legislation and everything would help make that happen, and we were unable to do so.
We're not sure how big of an impact it actually is going to have on us in our categoricals and all of that stuff. Right yet.
Worst case scenario, about a $600,000 to $700,000 categorical setback. But we're hoping and praying that we don't arrive at that point.
Right.
But we have no assurances at this point that that'll be the case.
And we are locked in contractual with them, we can't just axe that program?
Attorney Shattuck has extensively looked at the contract, and she can address that very specifically, but the short answer is no. We don't have the ability just to end the contract.
What is the terms on, or the length of that contract?
I believe it's for 2 more full years or 3, if I'm not mistaken. I believe it's for at least 2 more years. It could possibly be for 3. Between 2 and 3 years.
Okay.
And that's one of the issues that we're working with now.
Right.
You know, if they're going to be our true partners, they can't cost us money.
No, because I thought we typically put clauses in those contracts where we can get out of them with a 60 or 90 day
Yeah.
notice. So I'm
Right.
kind of curious on where we dropped the ball on that.
Yeah. Yep. And Attorney Shattuck agrees with you.
Our former legal counsel, let us fall into that one.
Yes.
I wasn't here at that time we reviewed that contract.
I mean, that's, yeah. I mean, it is what it is. If that's what happened, that's what happened. You know, not to,
Right.
not going to knock on his door. I'm just kind of curious if that's what happened, and that kind of justifies part of what we've done. So, okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
That was it.
Sure.
We had some really good conversation, a little bit of hard conversation tonight. But I just want to say thank you for thinking outside of the box.
Thank you.
I know it's hard. It's hard, but thank you.
And then, poor superintendent got caged up with me today, so we got a lot of stuff done in our meeting. I want to say to the board, how proud I am of you guys. We did have some hard conversation tonight, and I just see the level of professionalism and engagement increasing with each meeting, and so I think that's something that we can collectively be proud of. And I just want to say thank you to Ms. Cox, because it is very refreshing to actually get real answers, and I don't know, other than I don't know, so I just say appreciate that. Superintendent, do you have anything?
I feel like I have spoke way more than I need to tonight. However, I am going to yield my time to Attorney Shattuck for some information that she would like to share.
Thank you, Superintendent, Chairwoman, members of the board. What I wanted to share with you is an update regarding the district's desegregation case. We have received some good news. I recently had a conversation with and also got correspondence from Ms. Andrea Hamilton, who's the attorney from the U.S. Department of Justice who's handling the case. And she said that she was appreciating the district's cooperation with the Department of Justice, and also informed that the Department of Justice believes the district has complied in good faith with the faculty and staff recruitment portion of its stipulation regarding faculty and staff recruitment and student discipline. So therefore, the Department of Justice is ready to move forward with drafting a joint motion with the district for unitary status in that area of faculty and staff recruitment. The DOJ is requesting some more information before drafting that on the area of faculty and staff recruitment, and also on student discipline, and is not yet ready to move forward with a complete unitary status yet because it wants to continue to monitor the district on the student discipline side. But once we're done with the unitary status on the faculty and staff side, then we will just be monitoring on the student discipline side, and hopefully we'll be able to achieve unitary status on that if we're looking good next year in our monitoring efforts. So I just wanted to provide that update to you all.
How many years has this been going on? When I came here in 84, we were discussing that at board meetings.
I believe since 1970. Yeah. The case number starts with 70. So I believe since 1970.
We're getting closer then.
Before all of us, I believe, has been going on.
Well, I think that's, if I may just jump out there and speak, I think that's a testimony to Ms. Shattuck's diligence on this. That was one of the things I said that I would really like to get this wrapped up, and she has been phenomenal on it and very transparent in sharing that. And so, you know, we thank you for your work on that. I'm sure that you're a breath of fresh air in dealing with the Department of Justice as well. So I think that's good news. That's something we can celebrate for sure. And so thank you for your diligence and your work on seeing us through to this point and getting us through the rest of it.
Thank you.
All right, is there anything else? All right, seeing no other board member business before the board, we are going to be moving into, you're the best vice here. She's like, don't adjourn. We are going to be moving into executive session, and it's at this point, that's private privileged, and the cameras will not be recording that, and we'll have limited staff in the room for that one. So we're going to be making that transition into executive session right now.
Being patient with us.